We'll be seeing you on that foreign show. We'll be seeing you. We'll be seeing you every Friday here at TFS. That foreign show. We'll be seeing you on that foreign show. We'll be seeing you. We'll be seeing you every Friday here at TFS. That foreign show. We'll be seeing you on that foreign show. We'll be seeing you. We'll be seeing you every Friday here at TFS. That foreign show.
ADR Networks presenta Las opiniones expresadas en este programa son responsabilidad exclusiva de quienes las emiten y no representan necesariamente el pensamiento o alguna posición oficial de este medio de comunicación.
That foreign show. We'll be seeing you on that foreign show. We'll be seeing you. We'll be seeing you every Friday here at TFS. That foreign show. We'll be seeing you on that foreign show. We'll be seeing you. We'll be seeing you every Friday here at TFS. That foreign show. We'll be seeing you on that foreign show. We'll be seeing you. We'll be seeing you every Friday here at TFS. That foreign show. We'll be seeing you on that foreign show. We'll be seeing you. We'll be seeing you every Friday here at TFS. That foreign show. We'll be seeing you on that foreign show. We'll be seeing you. We'll be seeing you every Friday here at TFS. foreign show. We'll be seeing you on that foreign show. We'll be seeing you. We'll be seeing you every Friday here at TFS. That foreign show. We'll be seeing you on that foreign show. We'll be seeing you. We'll be seeing you.
ADR Networks presenta Las opiniones expresadas en este programa son responsabilidad exclusiva de quienes las emiten y no representan necesariamente el pensamiento o alguna posición oficial de este medio de comunicación.
ADR Networks presenta.
This is Celestine Angel.
And I'm Isaac Crouch.
And this is...
Foreign show. On the foreign show.
Yes, yo. It's Friday, 5 p.m. The Foreign Show. I'm Isaac Rakesh.
I'm Celestine Angel, and we are here on ADR Networks.
Activating your senses. Welcome back to the show. As you know, we used to be at a different time slot. Now we're rocking it at 5 p.m. So welcome to our show.
Yes.
This is That Foreign Show, and we've introduced ourselves.
So yeah, thank you for joining us at this new time slot. Like, if you've been like faithfully watching, we salute you. We say hi. Okay. We have this segment before our guest comes on, and like right now we are just going to do like something fun, which is like we're just going to share with you like a few different small questions that we have been asked, and we have told other people. Like, for example,
Okay, that sounds interesting.
for example, people have asked me what's my favorite word that that is used here. You know, like one of the lingos that is used here.
Okay.
Okay, we're not going into the malas palabras category. And I'm going to share mine, and then I'm going to ask Isaac his. So, like, one of my favorite words is provecho. I really like it. Like, I think that to have that word, because, you know, like being Asian, when we are going to eat with our family at the table, we always have to, this is what we do because we're Singaporean and we speak English, right? So we will be like, eat, you know. So we'll be telling the whole table, like, especially like the like our aunties and our like the generation that is older than us, we will be like, eat, auntie.
That's how they get people
uncle.
involved, to get everyone like in the mood of like, hey, let's eat together, right?
Yeah. It's the respect and yeah, and like Asian society is all about food, you know. All the love is shown through food. And yeah, so basically you say eat. So now I have a better word.
Right. Yeah, so no, it's not surprising to talk about provecho, because provecho is really kind of like bon appetit, you know.
Yeah, it's
And
bon appetit.
yeah, that's a cool one. That's a cool one. Okay, I'm gonna go with orale. All right, orale is kind of like, it's a kind of like it could mean many things, like a lot of the words in Mexican Spanish, right? One word could mean many different things.
Yeah, orale is fun.
Yeah, orale generally it just means kind of like, all right, you know.
Yeah.
It could be like, all right, you know, like, okay, I'm with you. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
would
feel
go
you.
like bah. I would just like
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
I like a
Bah's
lot.
good
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
What else?
Apparently, I'm going to start using since you brought it up.
Okay, now that you're saying that, there are actually some other contexts they can actually use orale. Like it could be sarcastic with it, you know. Like it could be like orale, you know.
Yeah.
Orale,
I'm
yeah.
sure. Like of course we are not like 100% sure about like anything that we are saying. We're not like
Yeah, we're not.
we need like a Mexican friend to like check this.
No, we need
part.
Carrick. We should have gotten Carrick on this special episode to talk about this because Carrick's an expert
Yeah.
with the
So
these
Carrie's
terms.
my brother, and the other part of Illuminary, who like we are from Illuminary. Like in case you don't know, we are a
Yes.
Singaporean crew
Yep.
doing mystic hip hop. So
Yes.
yeah, and since you're on the orale point,
Yeah.
I think I will also add that I like Aurita.
Orita is a
Yeah,
golden-
I know that's like a word that people talk about, like and laugh about, saying that you never know when Aurita is, because
Right.
it could be like in like right now, or it could be like never, right? But I really like Aurita because like I think it's the ish in English. I mean, not in English, but like when you're giving it like a timing, and then you're just like one-ish.
So orita is like basically you for people that don't know is you use it like it could mean when you're asking someone a time kind of thing, like how long are you gonna take, like are you gonna be done with that, and then instead of saying 5 minutes, 10 minutes or whatever, you can say orita.
Yeah, and I mean basically it's nowish,
Nowish.
like soonish or something.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I do like the ish thing. Yeah, and but it does bring up like a whole conversations about time and how like different cultures manage time. Like yeah, it's like and I find it an interesting topic because like I do think a lot about like this idea of time, because it's so societal, to keep to time. Yeah.
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 It's a very go on. Yeah.
Yeah, and we have discussed with a lot of our guests about what their personal philosophy about how they manage time is, as well as like in their country, how do they handle it, and how do they feel being here. And
Yes, and also a time and how you manage time becomes a part of your lifestyle and your experience. So a lot of our guests were actually moving from, say, the US to Mexico, or from one country to another. Your management of time and things like that changes. So
yeah, and you have to fit in with the flow of things.
Yeah.
Well, it'd be interesting to also ask Harmony, who's our guest, and she's already in the cabin, it seems. So
yes.
like, okay, let's have her in.
So we're gonna stop at ahorita. That's the final. We gave you guys three words, and there are lots. Actually, there are lots. Not just words, but just kind of phrases and feelings and things over here that we really dig. Yes. So.
All right. So Cesar, if you can let Harmony in.
Okay, in today's episode, we are actually diving into this whole topic of the cultures, the different cultures, right? And the real Mexico across the border, right? Growing up in the States, but originally from Mexico, Harmony Rose joins us to discuss the powerful experience of the Mexican Americans who are kind of returning to find what's been here all along. In this episode, we're going to be pulling back the curtain on the real Mexico, beyond the hearsay and into the heart of modern life, culture, and her personal evolving identity. These are kind of the things that we like to talk about. Kind of like not just talk to people about what they're doing, but just talk to people about who they are, how what they're doing is affecting them, and how it's changing how they view life and things like that. So that foreign show, that's what we're gonna do today. All right. So okay, since we are waiting for Harmony to join us, yes, you can let her into the studio.
All right. So
Oh, hello.
Hello. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Hopefully you guys can see me, hear me okay.
Yes,
Yes.
we hear you well.
Can you
Perfect.
see and hear us fine?
Yeah, great. Thank you
All
guys for
right.
having me.
Yes. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, so
Sure.
we were like just having a fun segment to ourselves just now,
Yeah.
like talking about like some of our favorite words that's used here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
did we?
listening.
Sorry.
I was listening a bit. I also like to use ahorita a lot.
Yeah. Ahorita is a beautiful one, right? Standard.
Yeah, that one is nice to use. And also like, like we were talking about like the concept of time and like how do you feel? I mean, you don't work here, you're working remotely.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it doesn't really matter so much, right? For you, like uh like how Mexicans are with their time culture. Like, you're not really, it doesn't really bother you so much, right? Like
No, I mean, I work with like people from all over the world. So I work with like Europeans, Latinos, like all kinds of different cultures. But definitely my personal life, I experience the time thing.
right, the like in I'm sure also in the US, like if you lived in different parts, like different people will behave differently as well. Like for example in Singapore, if you say that you're coming at 5, like about 10 minutes is like more or less nobody bothers.
Yeah. The time thing, right? Like it's. Why don't you tell us a bit about? Okay, so since you worked with all these different kind of cultures and stuff, why don't you break it down for us? Like what do you feel is different?
Um, I had a moment actually in this city. I feel like that describes it pretty well. I had my boss visit Mexico City kind of randomly. She was traveling, and she's German. And I have another colleague in this city who's Mexican. So her and I both live here and work from here. And we all decided to like organize a dinner. And I feel like we all arrived to that dinner just like as our cultures, like the stereotypes of our cultures. Like the German was already there, seated before anyone, like early. I, as someone who like grew up in the U.S., I was like a little bit late, but not too late. Like I was like five minutes late, like not right there, but a little bit. And then the one who grew up in Mexico was like 25 minutes late. So it was like I feel like we all stuck to the stereotypes, honestly.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow,
and
that's seriously interesting.
And like I was talking with a friend about this, and it's like what we have seen in Asian cultures will be like the Japanese people are like 30 minutes early. Anything later than that, they consider themselves late.
Yeah, I think we should really break it down and really find out why also. What is it about it?
Exactly.
Like, what are you trying to say? Like, cause there's this whole thing about different ways of communicating, right? Like body language, whatever. But what is that? What are you trying to actually say about that? And what does it say actually about your culture also? But that's something that is really really interesting.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah,
but so
for
much
sure.
of it is basically how much you feel like you have to adhere to what society needs. Like if you're 30 minutes early, maybe you feel a lot of stress that you can't let society down, or something like that. But your time is your time.
I feel like it also depends the kind of person you are because I'm naturally like I don't know, I take my time a bit. Like I do struggle to be on time sometimes. And so I feel like when I do when I'm dealing with certain people who I know are going to be on time, I'm a little more aware of that and maybe a little more stressed. Whereas if it's like Mexicans or it's a mixed group, I'm a little more relaxed. Like, okay, we're all gonna get there at a certain time. I don't have to rush. Like, so I feel like I adjust my anxiety level based on that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Is it
totally. Yeah.
is it just time, or can you think of some other things also that kind of different when you're dealing with, say, a bunch of Mexican colleagues versus a mix of other.
Yeah, I mean, my job is interesting. Like I said, I have colleagues from all over the world and I work with different people. And I did have to get used to like people's tones over messages because everybody writes differently when they're talking on like Slack about work things. And like both Americans or like both people from the US and people from Mexico, like Latin America, can be very expressive. Like they use a lot of
Okay.
um, expression, emojis, like maybe use a lot of words to explain, which I'm used to that. That's kind of how I do it. But then I work with a lot of like Eastern Europeans who are very different and they speak almost in a way like messaging where it feels like very short. And at first I had to get used to that because it's such a contrast and it almost feels like, are you mad at me? Like, did I do something wrong? But it's really just, but then you meet these people in person and you realize it's just a cultural thing. Like they're just not as like expressive outwardly as
right, and not as warm, right? Like they
Yeah.
don't really show so much care, or like it's more flat or colder
Yeah,
in a sense.
I think I grew to like that because in the US especially, we can kind of just be nice in general, but it's a bit of like a mask, you know, like it's
Right.
not always genuine, but we're just being nice. Whereas over there, I felt like it was kind of neutral and they would only really show it was like how you actually felt, which was a little more genuine in a
Okay.
way.
So you felt kind of freedom.
Yeah, I mean, that's like I don't know. I've traveled a lot and I've lived in a lot of different countries, and I feel like I've had to like discover like who I am in these different spaces. You know, like who am I when I'm taught like working with Europeans versus who am I like living in Mexico or whatever. So
Right. So on that note, we should like, because I'm really interested to know, like, before you came to Mexico, you said that you've been coming through like on and off for about 3 years, something like that. So like before
yeah.
that, what was your impression and of Mexico, and how have you, found your place, like who you are here?
Yeah, so I chose to move here about 3 years ago, and then since then it's been my base. So I'll travel a bit and always come back, or I'll kind of move back and forth. Um, Before that, I mean, I had a very different impression, I guess. I like half my family is Mexican, and I grew up in Southern California where there's a lot of Mexican culture. So in a lot of ways it wasn't unfamiliar coming here. Like there was a lot of things I recognized, um, but I also wouldn't say that I had like a much experience actually being in Mexico, which is kind of just because of how my family immigrated and everything like that. But I think I came here as an adult more, whereas I think there's a lot of people who grew up in like Southern California who have family from Mexico who maybe were more connected growing up, like came back when they were younger. And I didn't really have that. I kind of discovered it more on my own as an adult.
And like through your parents and all that, like what was your idea of like, what Mexicans are like, and what the country is like?
I mean, I had a certain idea, like, I grew up hearing Spanish spoken a lot, and specifically like Mexican Spanish with the slang and everything. So that's kind of what I grew up around, and similar with growing up around the food and music and everything like that. But it was all in Southern California. And I realized that when I did come to Mexico, I realized that a lot of what I grew up with, even though that it was heavily influenced by Mexico, it was more like a cross culture. Because in Southern California, it's like Chicano culture is like what we say. And it's
Right.
literally that. It's a hybrid of like US and Mexican culture. And we have almost like our own slang and our own accent. And so coming here, I almost learned that what I grew up with and what I knew was almost more Chicano than it was Mexican in a way.
Yeah, like in Chicano will be a lot of what we see on television, like the US is portraying to the world, right? Like
Yeah, that's the impression that we get over there. Right. Yeah. So I mean, it must have been interesting because we talked to a lot of people, and when they mentioned that when they come to Mexico City, kind of they never expect kind of a lot of things. It's just kind of different, and it was that way for us also, very different. We had a particular impression, and we come here, and it's kind of like one thing is if there is a kind of like an openness, especially an openness to kind of like foreign cultures and things, like how people always say, we always hear that like you get this vibe that there's something happening every day or every night. There's something
like
going
very
on.
exciting.
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
And you do you feel any difference? I mean, like back home, in the US, I mean in California, and the whole vibe over there versus the Mexico City kind of vibe.
I mean, Mexico City is like almost its own thing just because it's so busy and hectic. Like there's so many different parts of Mexico. I've only lived here, so I've only really experienced this. But yeah, I think when I'm in the US, I'm aware of a lot. I'm aware of myself more, almost like maybe I'm being monitored more, or just like I have to be more careful with my movements, or
Right.
maybe I feel like there's bigger consequences if I'm not aware as much. Whereas here, I do feel more relaxed in certain ways. I mean, I'm also like a woman on her own a lot of times. Like there's certain ways that you also have to just be aware. But I do feel like I breathe a little bit easier in Mexico than I do in the US, just pressure wise for myself.
Could you explain a bit more? Because do you feel more judged back in the US, or like what exactly are you referring to?
No, not judged. I think at this point I've been living outside of the US for a long time in different countries. And when I go back, I don't know, it's almost like at this point I almost feel like a foreigner in a lot of spaces, even going back home, even going back to California. So not so much judged, just I've been shaped a lot by the places I've been, and I could feel that going back.
So when you said that, like you feel like you need to watch yourself a little bit, like when you're back in the US, like why?
I think
We're getting deep here today in this episode.
no, it's good. I mean, there's
It's good, yeah.
different reasons. I know a part of it, I think personally, is just like, family and history and patterns, maybe certain ideas I have of how to be, versus when I leave, when I'm traveling or when I'm living in other places, I kind of create my own life, my own identity that isn't so much tied to who I am or who I was back then or back there.
I get what you're referring to.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I think, it's not so much, and the US is big. Like when I talk about the US, I really just like, I'm from that one area. And yeah, like the US is very big. But as far as like living in California, for me, and this is talking from a place of like, I have my own privilege and I very much recognize that. But just personally, living in California for me is very stressful. It's very expensive and it's a lot of logistics. Like I don't have health insurance there. Like it's just, so in a lot of ways, the US to me can feel pretty complicated just to live day-to-day life for me, not for everybody. Some people live very comfortably there, but just personally for me, like with, let's say, my income and as who I am as a woman and as an immigrant, whatever, I think it can feel a little bit, it can feel a little harder just day to day.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's life, and it's the things that the things that come together with that, right? And yeah, so I think now would be a good time, maybe if you could tell us a bit about your background, like what do you do, and we know you're a poet, and so why don't you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, poetry is more what I do as like a passion or like my free time. But I'm a writer in general. I've been a writer for a long time in a lot of different ways. Like I studied journalism in college, but I've always just loved writing. I've always loved stories, and I've always had a very active imagination ever since I was a kid. So my only way of, I guess, dealing with having so much in my head was writing it down and creating characters and all of that. So that's manifested in different ways. But yeah, I do write poetry. That's kind of one of the main things I do on the side, like for just myself. I've also written short films before in life. And for work, for my job, I write like tech articles for a company in Europe. So that's very, not so much creative. It's just, I guess my work is taking very complicated technical concepts and writing, easy to understand articles about those things.
Right. Like what you shared with me before, you're a technical writer. That's what she told me.
Yeah. So I guess just writer in a lot of ways, but what makes the money right now is writing about tech.
Yeah. And do you find it fun?
And what was that, sorry?
Do you find it fun?
Yeah, I do. I mean, like the job itself, I wouldn't say I'm not going to do this for my whole life. It's, it's something that it's really good for now, and it's flexible. Like because of the kind of job I have, I can work remotely, which is just such a huge privilege. I mean, that's how I'm able to even be here, really. Because otherwise living here would look completely different, So
Right.
yeah, it's not forever, but it's been great for a while.
Right. And I mean, you can be in any place in the world because you are working remotely, right? So like uh, uh like going back to what you were saying before, like in the US, you find it very expensive, and like there are many things that you feel like you could get better overseas. Is that what you're saying? Like maybe living in another country would also provide more experiences, like, yeah. What do you think about
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, I think you can. I've I've learned because this is like the fifth country I've lived in, and I've kind of learned like I take myself with me, and I can create a beautiful life or a very difficult life in any location. So I wouldn't say
Yeah.
like being out of the US is automatically better, but for me, I like it because I don't know, I like who I am as somebody who grew up in the US for the first 20 years of my life and kind of had that as my main perspective growing up most of the time. And I like being somebody who can take that but live in other places with that perspective versus being somebody who stays in the US and just, has that perspective. Because I feel like being able to live in other places, like it's helped me grow so much. And I started pretty young.
Yeah.
I left when I was 20 and I started living other places. So, I mean, it wasn't that my life got better. It was just that I grew a lot more than I think I would have if I had just stayed there the whole time and never been living in countries where like I didn't speak the language at all, or where I had to learn, what is it like to rent an apartment or get a job here. It's helped me learn a lot about myself and life in the world.
Yeah, and then these things really, like you said, it really helps you learn about yourself, right? Kind of
Oh yeah.
show you things that you kind of never thought about, you know. And yeah, that's
Yeah.
why on this show we kind of like to talk about these things and talk to people, and especially when they travel, and how travel actually kind of changes their perspective and about
Hmm.
and changes the way they do what they do. In your case, like as a writer, how has kind of like the this exposure to the different countries or living in different uh countries, how has that kind of shaped your artistic kind of outlook?
It's a good question. I mean, everywhere I've gone, I feel like I connect with other creatives the easiest.
Mm.
And it really doesn't matter if they're creatives from that country or creatives that have come from other places and are living there. Like just there's almost like it's almost its own culture, like being a creative person or being an artistic person. And so I feel like
Yeah.
wherever I've lived, whether that was, I've lived in Asia for a while, I lived in Australia and here too, I found those like pockets of creative communities. And it's always been mixed. Like I've always like that's been my way of finding friends, of finding, just activities. So yeah, if anything, like having that like creativity in me, like my passions have led me to find my way in cities, especially because you can kind of live any kind of life you want, whether you're more like athletic and you're in the sports world or you're in the creative field or more business. And for me, I've enjoyed kind of discovering the creative sides of cities.
And how do you, what about your writing process? Like, is it something that you kind of like need to do every day, or is it something that you kind of need to get into the mood to do? What is kind of like your thing with that?
It's more of a mood thing. I don't have, I mean, I can intentionally sit down and, you know, try to write something or work on something, but how things get started or how things come to me is usually just a big influx of emotions and thoughts and feelings and words and faces and whatever. And I could keep it inside and go insane, or I could write it all down. And that's usually what happens. So, like, I'll write things, you know, like on a plane or like in the middle of random tasks or just in any moment, really, where like certain thoughts come to my head. And it's like, it might not be something I want to say out loud or express in that moment, but I also don't want to keep it fully inside. So like my notes is where everything starts. Like on my phone, my notes app is where I always have access really to, I'm usually always holding my phone or have it near me. So when those kind of, I wouldn't even call it inspiration because it doesn't even feel like that. It just feels like big emotion, really. And I think everyone deals with big emotion differently. And that's just my way of dealing with it.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
It's how you process everything, right? Yeah.
Everything from like, you know, confusion to love to pain to like everything.
Right. And so like we like what Isaac was saying, like we like to dive into personal growth and especially about the experience being in Mexico. So like do you have like stuff that you would like to share, like, you know, just being here and experiencing and like how has it changed you?
I mean, I think it was interesting for me, particularly as somebody that like grew up with a lot of Mexican culture. I mean, in some ways, maybe I expected at first, I think in some ways I expected maybe to feel like it was almost more familiar or to be more connected than I was. I think it almost surprised me how I did feel quite different. And that was maybe just, I don't know, I don't want to say pride, but maybe I just thought that I knew what Mexico was or what it looked like or what Mexican culture was because I thought that I had that represented, but I never, without growing up here and without really speaking it as like a full native language, really, yeah, I think it surprised me. And I even remember like the first month or so I was here, I was telling somebody this. I was saying like, oh, I thought that I would blend in. I thought I would feel like I blend in a bit more, but I don't. I feel like for some reason I stand out. And like, and someone told me, like someone who was like from here, who was Mexican, said like, well, you do have, you know, features and things, but also you have a lot of features of like a foreigner. Like you have a lot of tattoos and the way you dress is very different. And it was like a girl that maybe, and I'm not talking about every Mexican girl, obviously, but he was saying in general, like a girl that grew up in Mexico maybe doesn't have like full sleeves and maybe dresses a little differently. Like I dress maybe more like someone who grew up in like a punk LA type of environment. So I think like I realized that I was kind of more expecting, like I said, and you know, that was humbling in a good way. Like I needed to be humbled because it helped me realize where I still had to grow there.
Yes, that one's a big one for us also. Like, you know, traveling, moving around kind of really humbles you, right? It kind of shows you stuff that you think you don't, you know, that you got, but actually it's stuff that you actually need to work on. You know? Yeah.
Right, but it's also very interesting because you are like, you're coming from where you're coming from, so you are also bringing yourself, you know, to the mix. Like you come to Mexico and like that becomes Mexico as well. I mean, that's what I think. You know, yeah.
Yes, and it brings up this other conversation that we had with a previous guest, right, Anna, right, and we were talking about this topic about people who travel to a country and two kinds of behaviors, right? One group of people actually travel to a new country and they do all they can to kind of integrate, right? Like get the vibes, you know, eat the local food, you know, meet the local people. But then there's another group of people who are kind of like, I think it's what you described, right? Like they have their own thing, their own kind of agenda. Maybe they're artists or maybe they're working professionals and they kind of stick in their own groups, right? Like integration with the local culture isn't like their number one priority, right? So our discussion was about, you know, some people feel this is better, the other way is better, but it's all different, right? Like travel means different things for different people, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
it's always good to, I think, like try as much as you can. At least that's what I do. And I know, like as someone who has spent most of my time living in places where I wasn't from necessarily, like not most of my time, but a lot of time living in places where I wasn't from and feeling like an outsider or different. I think like, yeah, people will maybe struggle to want to assimilate because it's scary, or you feel intimidated, or you feel like maybe you're not going to be accepted, or that you're too different, or you don't know how to communicate, or whatever it is. And so it's more comfortable to maybe stick in your own circle. But that's like the only thing I have found is like when I like getting out of that comfort zone, it's always uncomfortable. It's always been, it always will be, but it can be very worth it. And it's how I've learned the most Spanish too, because like I grew up speaking a lot of Spanish, but I just not at a native level, really. I had a lot of improvement to do. So if I had just, only really stuck to certain circles, I wouldn't have been forced into using my Spanish as much as I have, which is good for me.
So your family makes fun of your Spanish level? Is that the kind of...
For sure. Yeah. And I mean, I don't know, I've gotten like you get teased a lot, I think, like with that. I don't know,
Yeah.
it's a weird thing because it's like it's also there was like a specific phasing out of Spanish that happened, like with when a lot of Mexicans immigrated to the US, like they purposely phased out that language in order to be, I guess, more accepted.
Right.
Yeah, more accepted. I mean, the way I was told the story was that the US was kinder to English speakers, so that was, and it wasn't exactly, I think also too, like times are totally different. Like when my family did move to Mexico, it wasn't really like, cool to be like Latino. Whereas I feel like now it's very different, and they have like a lot of like Latino culture, and that's very popularized. But back then it wasn't seen as something maybe you wanted to be loud about. So I mean, yes, I've gotten like a lot of those kind of like teasing from family is one thing. And then I've also gotten on the other side like this question of like, how are you Mexican, but but you grew up in the US, or but your Spanish isn't perfect, or but you don't know this, like certain very Mexican things. Like I've had to be like, oh, I've never heard of that. And it's like, well, how are you Mexican if you don't know about this one very niche thing? And,
Right.
And I've had to kind of explain that. It's like, well, it's not that I never wanted to, or that I, had a aversion to Mexican culture. It was just as immigrants in general, we had to kind of like change. And it is sad when you think about it. And that's the story of a lot of immigrants, not just Mexicans. I mean, there's so many immigrants to the US that have the exact same story. So
Right. Like, I mean, you still kept a certain level of your culture. Like your family still kept speaking Spanish a little. Yeah. And I'm sure you're still eating, your mom cooks something Mexican or no?
oh yeah, I mean, definitely in all of those ways. I mean, I grew up like with the language and definitely with the food. I mean, even still, like going back to California for holidays, will sometimes feel like I'm just still here because they're serving like tamales, and they're like it's all the same kind of things that they do here for celebrations.
Right.
I mean, yeah, in a lot of ways, yeah. I think the main difference was just like growing up from a young age. I mostly grew up speaking English, and I think that was on purpose. Like later in life, when I realized how, like, I guess bad my Spanish was, it made me like angry at my family for not passing that down, because it's so much easier to learn the language when you're a kid versus when you're adult, like to learn when you're an adult. So I was like, you guys made it harder for me. But then I really just, once I learned more and kind of had more life experience, I was like, okay, they didn't do it because they hated Spanish. You know, it was all, there was a reason, and it
Yeah,
gives
for
me a
sure.
chance to kind of learn myself, I guess, or like get better myself.
It was part of that transition, and they naturally did that, right? So, but
Yeah.
back where you're from, were there a lot of like other Mexican immigrants as well? Like, did you have a community?
Very much, yeah. That being said, I'm very grateful for growing up in LA specifically, because like I grew up around every kind of person, every kind of person. You know, I grew up like around
Right.
so many different cultures, but not only different cultures as far as like ethnicity, race, nationality. I also grew up around like gay people, trans people. Like I grew up around like every kind of person that you could, you know. And so I think that that made me a little bit more equipped for, I don't know, appreciating all these places I go and assimilating. But yeah, definitely, I grew up in a very like Latino Mexican area. I mean, I grew up in the San Fernando Valley, and that whole area specifically, yeah, very Mexican. And even to this day, when I go back to that area, because my grandma still lives there, my mom lives there. When I go back to that area, they speak in Spanish to me, like automatically, and it's almost just like that's kind of that area. And very similarly, like I have one of my best friends that I went to high school with. She's Chinese, and she lives in a very like Chinese area, and it's the same thing. Like she speaks like her language there and everything. So like LA has its like immigrant communities like that, which I love, you know.
And here in Mexico, like, have you found also like people completely like you, like Mexican American, grew up in the US, was born in the US,
Yeah.
in fact.
Yeah, there's a few of us. It's kind of nice. I've for the first time I've related to that. You know, I mean, I've lived in other countries, but yeah, living here in Mexico, and a few of my good friends, and have been, you know, people like me who have, you know, lived and grew up in the U.S. but moved here and have like a bit of the culture. But I also like, one of the reasons I chose Mexico City in particular is, I think, because of how I grew up, I need to be around different kinds of people. I really do. Like not just like Latino culture, but all different kinds of people. I
Right.
mean, I love that. That's one of my favorite things about, I guess, my life here, is that when I look at my friend group, it's not one kind of person or one, you know, ethnicity. It's like, no, I have US friends, I have Mexican friends, I have friends from like Asia, Europe, and I love that. And I need that, because I've lived in, like, for example, a small town in Australia, that was not like that. It was very rural. It was mostly white, and like you feel the difference. I like
Mm.
being around a lot of different things, different kinds of people, and it's just that's almost what feels just more comfortable to me.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm curious to know what these people felt when you told them, your friends and family and people you're close to, that you're gonna Mexico and that you're gonna be spending some time here. Oh, what were the reactions like?
Yeah, so it was definitely different to when I said I was, you know, or when I told people I'm living in Australia or New Zealand or other places. I think those a bit more, because it's those places are a lot further and maybe more foreign, so there was more like fascination or wow, that's so cool. Whereas with Mexico, depending on the age demographic, there
Right.
was different reactions. I would say younger people would say like, oh, that's really cool, I want to go, I want to live there, I've lived there. Like younger people definitely like thought it was great. The
Okay.
older generation was a little more like, why? Kind of just trying to understand, out of all the choices, why I would pick Mexico. Like, you know, for different reasons, like the safety. I think people would say, although I grew up in LA, I mean, is it much better, really? Like, so I think, yeah, like that's what I found a lot of older people, not even like I'm just talking about just family, just in general. I think because if you only follow certain news, Mexico looks really scary, and it looks like you just come here and get
For,
kidnapped. You
for,
know,
for real. Yeah.
if you just watch certain news stations, I mean, and I think a lot of older Americans specifically who haven't maybe traveled much or have only really heard certain things, maybe have certain ideas about even immigrants,
Mm.
don't really understand that this is actually well, it can be a great place, just like anywhere else can be a great place. It can also be a
Yes.
very dangerous place too. But
Yes, I
it's
mean,
like I mentioned before, it's like you can create a beautiful life or a difficult life, but it's not the kind like Mexico is not the default either way.
no, for sure. I mean, you can create a beautiful life anywhere, right?
Mhm.
But I feel like taking that, like with Mexico, kind of feels right to like kind of go one step further and kind of say that it is a nice place. It's a great place. It's a great
Mhm.
place, and a lot of these people who actually come here, or people who travel, they talk about how there is something here that kind of forces you to out of your comfort zone, obviously, and kind of almost because of that you kind of are forced to
Like relax more,
relax more,
be more present or something.
be more present, just do what you need to do, and kind of
Mhm.
like you almost get a clearer vision and focus about what it is that you're trying to do, right?
Yeah.
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 So yeah, for
Absolutely.
those reasons, yeah.
Yeah, and I totally get like why you would want like all mixed people around you, not like just one ethnicity or something like that, or one
Yeah.
community. Like back in Singapore, we were the same. Like our friends were like everywhere, like Italy, US, France, everywhere.
Sweden, shout out.
So basically, I think for me it was always like because I would rather not think about race at all and like just be human. And like when you are not one race, it's easier that way. You're just going to connect on a soul level, like and at the same time it's fun to like feel like you are part of and the entire world or something, because everyone's sharing from different parts of the world and you feel close enough to feel like you're there, even like
Yeah.
going through all these things.
And what's crazy is also the different
Mhm.
perspectives, right? And you look at different people of different ages, right? Like you just mentioned, like the kind of slightly older folk, they come with a whole generational perspective kind of thing, a whole world, right? Almost.
Yeah.
And then the younger generation, they're doing their own thing, right? Like it's like wow, it's like in a sense, it's so everyone kind of has the freedom to do their own thing.
Yeah.
The impression of Mexico has been changing, like along with like right now, like it's more cool to be Latin and to speak Spanish and stuff like that. Like, what do you feel?
I'm accepted. Well, it's kind of a double-edged sword just because I like this part's hard because I've come here, yes, as someone who has family from Mexico, but I'm also someone who comes here with like Western income and like native English and like gentrifier in a lot of ways. And so that's, I feel like that conversation I didn't expect to be a part of when I came here, or I didn't expect that to be so much. I didn't know really how big of an issue that was, how big of an issue it was going to turn into, and then how I would end up contributing to it by default just by being here, even if I'm aware of it and I wouldn't want anybody to live a less quality of life just because I'm here, because I live here. That would never be my goal. But by default, by the income that I have and everything, it just happens. So that part, I think that's how I think it's changed for me, is I didn't realize that was going to be such a big conversation moving here, I guess.
I mean, like, if you are like just renting right now, like just for a short while, I don't know how like what's the big deal. I mean, like I know this is not the most popular thing to say, but yeah, like
Well, the world's too politically correct nowadays, right? So
Yeah. No, I do agree. And I think my take on that is I felt this way when there was that big protest. I mean, there's been a few protests, but there was one specific one, like the No Gringos protest, and it went right through Roma, and I was living there at the time, so I was kind of right in it. And
wow.
I had my perspective on that was that I understood their anger and I understood why they felt the way they felt. And I felt like they were justified in feeling that way. They, meaning the people protesting, feeling this way. But on the other hand, I think that they have the wrong target. I think they focus a lot on those of us, like people who come here and rent and things, versus just this is kind of how the government has set up, the system, and the government allows the imbalance to continue to take place. Even in other countries have had the same conversation. I know, like Spain's government had the whole conversation of like we need to crack down on Airbnbs. Like, I think we're easy targets because especially Americans, especially like people from the U.S., we can be obnoxious and loud and ignorant and all those things, and so it's easy to point fingers, but it's not like we can just solve everything, just us as individuals. It's a bigger issue, really.
Like why you mentioned the government will be somebody larger than you has to handle this. It's not the individual. It's actually I mean, if you just want to point fingers at like the foreigners that are coming, then there's also the landlords. They are raising the rent. They are choosing that. They are local, and
I mean, you can go anywhere. You can like how if you want to look at it that way, and then you start judging people. You can start judging your own people, right? And
in Singapore, basically why I am not really thinking of this like such a big deal, but I also empathize, but because we are so used to it back home in Singapore, the government really wants foreign investment, so they invite a lot of people to come in, and seriously everything moves so fast, and we have to adapt all the time anyway, so we are very used to it.
And also racial integration, like Singapore, we kind of experience this kind of artificial kind of society in a way, like the government kind of forced the races to kind of go, which is it's a good thing, at the end of the day.
I mean,
absolutely, that's it's beautiful. I mean, that's how we should be. We should be able to learn about each other in that way, I think.
All right, so we actually reached the end of the show. Could you drop a few words for other Mexican Americans who might want to visit Mexico or live here, or do you have any thoughts for that?
Yeah, I mean, if you're able to, I think absolutely do it. And of course, moving anywhere is intimidating. New places are intimidating. I feel like, yes, a lot of people from the U.S. that maybe don't are Mexican or Latin American, but don't speak that great Spanish, might think that that's a reason not to come. But it's not. It's a reason just to learn. If anything, I use that to motivate myself when I first came here. The gap that I saw. I just you're able to kind of push yourself. So I would encourage it. And I think even if you feel you feel different in certain ways, the city's huge, and there's so many people here, and there's so much going on, and I think you're bound to, I always say there's something for everybody in this city particular, so you're bound to find community in some way.
Right.
Yes, for sure. We find that too.
Okay, so thank you so much, Harmony, for joining us.
Thank you. It's been amazing, and thank you for coming on the show. And we want to invite you to let us know what's up with you, and stay in touch so that you can be a part of this TFS family.
Cool.
Right, okay.
Thanks,
so
guys.
let me stand it up again. Celestine Angel.
Isaac Rocket.
And we have Harmony Rose with us here on ADR Networks, activating your senses.
Peace.
Thank you.
Thank you to all who joined us here on That Foreign Show. It's been awesome. I'm Celestine Angel.
And I'm Isaac Crouch, and we'll see you next Friday. Have a great weekend, y'all.